Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Motorrad Theory. And today we have a very interesting topic that we're going to cover. And this is all going to be about how a OEM workshop works and how a private garage or a workshop works. And if you see, there are a lot of things which goes in and around a workshop when it comes to fixing a motorcycle. And today we're going to cover each and every topic what every rider or a customer goes through. And today we have got Jade here. He's our intern. He's just finished his schooling and he's very keen in learning about race engineering. So he's working with us. And during our discussion, he came up with this topic where what are the things or the differences between a OEM garage and a private garage. So Jade, over to you.
So we'll go straight into the questions.
Okay.
So Rohit, to begin with, one of the biggest questions is, what is the difference between a private and authorized service center?
So when it comes to authorized service centers, are those people who are officially appointed by the company and for that specific motorcycle or the ranges of their motorcycle. If you want to take an example of KTM, Bajaj, Triumph, they all have different teams but under the same umbrella. But when it comes to individual brands, the way they work and the products or the parts, what they use are according to the specification. And when it comes to a private garage, these are those people who, work on multiple motorcycles of different brands, different CCs, segments. And some people also do a lot of R&D on their machines if they are planning, working on race motorcycles or off-road or maybe a drag bike also. But being so versatile when it comes to private garages, most of them know exactly what they are doing. But when it comes to a OEM or a company service provider, they have things already defined. So basically, the mechanics who they are working with are well trained to that specific motorcycle, not to anything else. So basically anybody who joins a company or a service center, they usually go through certain training process which may be for a month or so, or maybe 2 months depending upon the motorcycle.
Right.
So now here the way people work, the approaches are way different compared to each other. So there is nothing that I would be able to compare apart from certain things like in a OEM service center, you get genuine parts. You know exactly what they have done because they'll have a complete history of your service records or anything related to the work done on the bike. So when it comes to private garages, most of them don't follow that procedure where you have maintaining a record of what work is done on the motorcycle. But few garages are there where they try to follow the international standards or the company standards. But then being a multi-brand service center, it's very challenging, to cater to all those bikes, especially when it comes to technicalities or maybe parts. Since most of the garages keep this part very, shady, they won't tell you what part they're using on the bike or what kind of work they have done on the motorcycle, because not many garages are keen in explaining the work they do on the bike. But when it comes to an OEM service provider, they have standards. So at what interval your bike has to be serviced, at what interval your forks have to be rebuilt, at what interval what parts have to be changed. So everything is defined in a very standardized manner. So it can be anything related to a chain or a clutch plate or engine oil or brake pad, tire. Everything is defined in certain intervals. But keeping that same standard in a private garage is something which most of the people lack in maintaining them. So I could say like there is a lot of difference. And most importantly, since service providers like OEM garages, they have lot of bikes which keep coming to them for service. And whereas compared to a private garage, the amount of work they handle is also very, fluctuating or floating based on the demand. They maintain their garage work. Like for example, most of the garages are full during the weekends because most of them ride on Saturdays and Sundays. Whereas the OEM garage will also have that kind of volume or footfall during the weekends also. But you can understand the amount of work or the deliverables by both of them is very different. In a service provider like OEM garages, they have standards for each RAM. They have dedicated mechanic,
Right.
they have a dedicated inventory wherein they have parts available at any given point of time. So the deliverable from a OEM side is much smoother and faster. But one major drawback I see between the OEM garages are that the amount of care or importance to your bike is not given,
Right.
because all the mechanics who work in a OEM garage have a target to fulfill, because they work on incentive basis,
Right.
because their pay will be not that great, so they try to make more money by doing more number of bikes, maybe service or any work related to the engine or a tire change or anything. Basically they differentiate the work on terms of minor, major and service, or maybe any other form of the system. So in that way, a guy who's working on the bike will have a target time. Or like for example, if a service guy is working on the bike, he knows at what time this bike will be done. So considering that amount of timeline he's catering to with individual bikes, is clear. Like he's not going to spend more time on your bike. He's just going to drain your oil, change the oil filter and get it washed and do a PDI, sorry, and then deliver the bike. But the complaints or the issues, whatever the customer addresses it to the service manager, sometimes gets missed out. Not because he is doing it on purpose, but since there is so much of work they have to cater to, so they end up taking up those responsibilities at the beginning itself. They will immediately tell you, okay, sir, this cannot be repaired, this has to be replaced, is one of the common examples we all go through. Like in a OEM garage, if you go, they are not those people who will try to work on some part to make it work. They would rather take an approach of replacing the part. But during comparing it with a private garage, they take that extra effort of trying to resolve a problem without changing the part. But there are a lot of backfires which you also get if you are a private garage, because some things you take a risk on to fix it, but then you end up being the guy responsible for that mistake. So all these issues are there when it comes to day-to-day operations in a garage.
Right. Yeah. So to follow up with that question, there is one more interesting question that comes is on warranty. I know a lot of riders, they worry about losing their warranty. So the question is, what usually causes a loss in warranty, and is there any way a customer can avoid losing their warranty?
So like I told you, companies have a standard already defined by them, like in the terms where service is already defined. The service interval would be mentioned in terms of 1,000 kilometer, 5,000 kilometer, 10,000 kilometer. If you are buying a brand new bike, you are bound to go to the service center for the first 3 free services, because in that they will get to know how the bike is doing its job. For example, when you are buying a brand new bike, immediately you can't like whack it or ride hard. You'll have to season the bike, run it in, then you've been called back again to the service center trying to get it checked. Basically the first free service, what they do is not an oil change on most of the bikes. If the service interval is mentioned for an oil change, then they usually will do. But normally when you take a brand new bike, they will call you like after 500 or 1,000 kilometers for a checkup. During that, what they do is they check all the parts, internals and all the external things if they are working fine. If they find out to have any issue, they usually take up the responsibility of rectifying it and not charging the customer. That is why I would recommend even all our viewers, if you are buying a brand new bike, make sure you don't skip any of those first free services, because this is very crucial for you and the company to make sure the bike is running well. And second thing is, most importantly, what people miss out is trying to add accessories which are not made for your bike.
Right.
Nowadays, the technology has moved far, and people are making accessories or products for motorcycles which are kind of plug and play. With this kind of an approach, you won't have a lot of issues with the warranty unless that part has caused a problem with the bike. If they identify like this issue was caused by your accessory, then I'm sorry that nobody can help you in claiming your warranty.
Right.
Apart from that, if you are going outside or going to any private garage to fit accessories on the motorcycle, I don't think that will cause you a problem with your warranty. Like especially if you are installing crash guards, radiator grills, or frame sliders, or adding any extra, saddlebag stays. All of this won't void your warranty, but always make sure that company has spent a lot of money in developing a motorcycle. So if you are planning to add or remove anything from the bike, make sure you are aware why and how things are done. A lot of people do things which they are not aware of and then end up getting into trouble, especially with the warranty part. And there are so many other things which can also cause your warranty. Like I told, if you're trying to cut any wire from the motorcycle or adding any accessory which is related to all the electronics in the motorcycle, please make sure you go through twice before you plan to purchase any of them, because most of the bikes which are coming now are technologically advanced. So any issue the bike goes through, the dashboard shows off an error or a check light.
Right.
So that is the moment where you know that there is something which is not working on the bike properly. And these are the things which a OEM garage would not want to do unless they have their own accessories designed from them. Like for example, a lot of our Royal Enfields have their lot of accessories which you can buy. Most of them are more aesthetical related stuff, but when you go to abroad, like countries like Europe and US, you get a lot of accessories from S&S. And like for example, if you take an Aprilia 457, you have an option of upgrading stuff from there.
Yeah.
But in India, we are limited to a lot of things. Even with the R15s or the R3s or any Yamaha lineup, they have so many accessories for racetracks, for off-roading, but not much of things are accessible in India. So companies try to maintain that hardware and software in a motorcycle by not tampering it. Like for example, if you take a very clear example of Aprilia that comes with a quick shifter, if you try to do anything or mess around with that, the calibration will go off, and then you will start feeling that the quick shifter is not working properly.
Yeah.
But then private garage, if he is aware of what he is dealing with, he will rectify the problem. If he doesn't know, then he may end up spoiling that part, which is very expensive. Even in that case, when you take a 600cc or a 1000cc or any big bike, they come with a lot of electronics.
Right.
You mess around with any of those, the electronics calibration will go off. And the bike starts behaving very weirdly. Nowadays, we have a very common issue going on with the E20 fuel also.
Yes.
Most of our bikes which we are using right now are not E20 compatible, but the newer bikes are E20 compatible. So a lot of people are not aware how their bike would behave for the E20 fuel, but wherein there is no problem with the newer bikes.
Right.
So likewise, there are a lot of technicalities involved in a motorcycle, which I feel like if you have any doubts, you are always free to do your research on the Google, or you can go to some forums, read about the things which can not be harmful to your motorcycle or be harmful to your motorcycle. So I think that much of research, if a rider can do for his motorcycle, I think you will not end up in the problem of voiding your warranty.
Right.
And the most important other thing is, if you are going outside the service center for repairs for your bike, and then they see a gap of service history not being maintained over the period of months or kilometers, then they are free to question you and they are free to even void your warranty because of their standards. So that's why I always recommend people not to skip any of the first 3 services or the free services whatever the company has provided.
Right. And in terms of mechanics, do you feel that our workshop today has the experienced mechanics?
So I won't say we are completely satisfied or
Right.
unsatisfied. It's a constant learning. We will be always learning, and I will never say that we are the pros in everything. We work on a lot of different verticals. As Motorrad Theory, we are in racing. We also build motorcycles for racing in India, and also do a lot of engineering projects wherein we have done a motorcycle engine to a go-karting, and a lot of PhD people also come to us in developing their own projects.
Right.
We just help them, provide our space to work with, and also add our experience to things whenever it comes to the requirement, whenever there is a requirement.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like I told you, we are a multi-brand service center. When we say we are a multi-brand service center, it's not like we do things unknowingly. We always have certain standards which we follow, like how the OEM garages do. Like we have service manuals for each and every model and bike. If we get into any complications with related to rebuilding an engine or rebuilding an fork, we always refer the service manual. For example, if I have to rebuild a fork, I exactly know what quantity of fork oil to use, what grade to use, and how much air gap to keep on each and every bike. On top of it, we add our experience and tailor make things for the riders based on their weight, their riding condition, and their preferences.
Right.
Similarly to that, we also do a lot of other things. When it comes to engine rebuilding, we follow very strictly the torquing specs, whatever the company provides, which most of the private garages avoid to do. Like they usually start fixing things with their own experience. Some bolts are tightened, some bolts are loose. I mean, like, I totally understand with their experience and the way things have been taught to them, they are going to apply the same thing in their work. But when it comes to Motorrad Theory, we are very complex in those matter. We don't compromise on any of the work we do. We follow the standards what a company follows. Yes, since we are a multi-brand service center, we are always open to do the changes and also are flexible to the customer's requirement. And when it comes to the transparency of our people working in the garage, we have kept a very transparent wall between the customer lounge and the work area so that the people can see their bike being worked on. So that is the level of transparency we have. And coming to the other things, we are strictly people who only purchase OEM parts. We don't purchase any third party parts due to reliability issues.
Right.
And also, if you are suggesting or upgrading to any aftermarket part, it's usually always a performance part.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you are upgrading from a stock brake pad to a better one, we usually recommend EBCs, Brembos, Galfers, or any good brand or any good product which can fulfill their need or the purpose for the build. So in that same way, when it comes to spark plugs, when it comes to air filters, performance parts, OEM will not do them because they are strictly company who work on a very standardized policy. They are only allowed to use their parts. They are only allowed to do certain level of job. They cannot go overboard or underboard for these things. So in this matter, there is a huge difference when it comes to a OEM garage and an aftermarket garage. Yeah, a lot of people don't have a standard approach of working on a motorcycle, but we do. If you want to like have an experience of Motorrad Theory, how we work on your motorcycle, you're always welcome to come here, experience the things we do, and you're also free to learn from us because we do a lot of DIY sessions for riders. We also try to educate them with their motorcycle key, like, yes, this bike is capable of doing so and so things. So we try to create some awareness, which a OEM garage lacks a lot of times. And even when it comes to the work done on a motorcycle, our technicians give them a clear explanation about why this part was worn out and why this had to be replaced. Even in terms of things which we are not covering due to budget issues, some customers will have. So we always maintain a record of that and we provide those works in the delivery note saying like this part needs to be changed at this interval in the coming service interval. We also do maintain service records of every customer who has come to us, so that at any given point of time they feel like checking on the service history or also want to check on the service reminders, we provide all of that to them. Basically, we are trying to be a garage where we are open to the riders,
Right.
wherein we are trying to build our own community, wherein people feel like home and can come down, talk to new people, build a rapport, build that community bigger, and then ride, have fun is our story with Motorrad Theory. With related to transparency, I think we are one of the most transparent garages in and across India, wherein we give each and every breakup before any work is done. I mean, like, being a multi-brand is not an easy job compared to an OEM garage, because we have to deal with a lot of different segments of motorcycle, different brands of motorcycle, and the amount of work goes into fixing a motorcycle is huge. Wherein we don't have a huge inventory space like an OEM company, wherein I have parts at the requirement. We'll have to always order, then wait, then fix things and deliver. So the turnaround time usually is more. But in this gap, it's not something where we are like letting the bike be on the ramp, but we also ensure like all the other areas of the bike are even addressed. Like, for example, when you take a OEM garage, they have certain standards they follow for a bike service
Yeah.
or a periodic service. But when it comes to Motorrad Theory, we have a very intensive list of things which we address or cover during the service. Like, for example, I'm just giving an example. I'm not trying to point out that their approach is better or my approach is better, or their work is good, my work is good. It's a discussion we are having and trying to cater to the customer's need. That's the ultimate goal we always follow. So basically, when you take an example or a case study, when a customer walks into a OEM garage, they go through a standard procedure wherein a service manager comes to them, puts on the job card, notes down all the problems what you have mentioned, and takes it for a test ride. The moment the bike is back from that test ride, he will tell you a rough estimate and the delivery time.
Right.
Correct? And then the bike goes inside, the bike is scheduled to the respective mechanic, and the mechanic starts to work on the bike. And during this process, what happens is he will open up the bike, sees the job card. Okay, this much work is there on the bike. Okay, I have to change the oil, I have to change the oil filter, I have to change certain things. Certain people have a very strict policy wherein their service interval includes something called as a PM kit or like a service kit. Usually in KTMs you find them, wherein in the service kit you get an air filter, oil filter, fuel filter. It's like a package where they mandatorily change all these things, which is really good. But other service centers or other brands have a different format to follow. So they follow their own standards. I don't want to explain each and every brand. Coming back to our discussion, when it comes to us, we do change all of those because we are a multi-brand service center. Whenever we see there is a difference in our work, we always are open to learn, upgrade our skill sets, and also upgrade the work we do when it comes to periodic service.
Right.
So now in our service center, we also add that, but on top of it, we also clean up all the internal areas of the motorcycle. We clean the airbox, we change the brake fluids, we re-grease the axles, clean the brake pads. Then also all the other areas are going to be addressed, especially when it comes to a periodic service. Chain is being adjusted and cleaned and lubed. Battery terminals are re-greased. All the internal areas, all the contact areas are cleaned up. So all minute details are addressed. Basically, we are a very boutique garage wherein we pamper your motorcycle at a very nominal cost when compared to a OEM garage. This is something I want to highlight because when it comes to OEM brands, there is no repair, there is only replacement. But when it comes to us, there is lot of flexibilities which we offer to the customer. We communicate to the customer before even we start any work, which is what we see which is lacking in the OEM garages. Once the bike goes in the ramp, you are not allowed or you don't have the privilege of sitting and watching your bike being repaired. That is one thing which I feel like has to be addressed by them. And when it comes to us, we are fully open. You are free to sit down
Right.
with the
Yeah.
bike, work on your own bike if you want to. We are not going to charge you anything extra for that. We will be very happy to educate you on your own motorcycle so that our deliverables to them are much easier and very, very easy to communicate. You are understanding me,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because there are people who buy motorcycles for commuting. There are people who buy motorcycles for their joyriding. There are people who have motorcycles for a purpose. You know, there are people who buy motorcycles for racing only.
Right.
There are people who do off-roading and they have a separate off-roading bike. They have a commuter bike. So nowadays, the bikes what we are seeing are very purpose-specific motorcycles, not something wherein you can, you know, buy a S.01 RR and then commute to work in the traffic every day. It's not a practical choice you could make. But in the same way, an Activa or an Ather or any moped or any smaller CC bike which is easy to maneuver, easy to ride in traffic, and also easy on your pockets is something usually people prefer.
Right.
And when you segment all these kind of motorcycles, you see a lot of difference in the service provided also to them. Like for example, I have a S.01 RR and another Activa to go to work every day. I cannot expect the same level of service what a BMW provides to an Honda or an Activa. You know the difference.
Right.
Like the standards are different, the requirements are different, the SOPs, the standard operating procedure for each bike is different. So everything is engineered. Nothing is randomly assumed.
Yeah.
If company says like Triumph, they say like your bike service interval is every 10,000 kilometers. They have come up with their standard.
Right.
So they think like, yes, their bike doesn't need to an oil change till 10,000. But considering the real case scenarios and the real problems which we, you know, troubleshoot every day based on the customers, we have, you know, made our own standards wherein we don't tell the customer, boss, 10,000 is something which we also would not recommend based on how you ride. This is a tailor-made solution which we are providing a customer at no additional cost.
Right.
Okay. This is something which is a value addition that we are adding to our riders, which is missing by a mile from any garage until you know them. And you visit that garage very frequently and the mechanic knows your bike very, very well. It's like, for example, if I have to give you is an example of a doctor and a mechanic. If a doctor sees that you are not feeling well and this is your problem, you would not directly conclude unless you know the doctor. You would always prefer to take a second opinion based on the complexity of problem you are dealing with.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, if the severity of the problem is big, you would always ask or take an opinion from a different doctor or a mechanic.
Right.
Now, he would say, okay, I think if I take an OEM in this case, they would directly tell you, boss, replace the part.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a private garage or garage like Motorrad Theory, we look into the part. Like if this part needs a replacement. If the customer says, okay, I have a budget constraint. No, I have a budget. Or any in situation or any problem statement from the customer's point of view, we will be able to address it, guide him through.
Right.
This takes a lot of effort and time on our side because this will also add up a lot of work to us. Spending time with the customer, explaining him at any given point of problem when we are working on the motorcycle takes a lot of effort and time for us, which is not going to give us any kind of reward or extra money. But then keeping our customer educated and happy is something which we focus on. And this transparency, even our mechanics do very, very well. Even apart from having our back end or the front end team, we would call it like our service manager himself is also a good rider, a professional racer, and the credibilities we have in our team is something which comes with a lot of experience. There is nobody who's here, randomly jumps into a conclusion of doing something. So everything is, done in detail. So there is nothing that which is hidden or like a surprise to the customer. Everything is given in terms of breakup. Like if I have to tell you, the way or the SOPs we follow is when the bike comes inside the garage, we put a job card, we make an estimate, then take an approval from the customer. Once the approval is given, we order the parts, and then once the parts arrive, we start working on the motorcycle, give the updates to the customer orally, also by a video or some pictures, which we usually do. And then the work is finished, we make a complete test ride, check everything, then after the QC is done, only the bike is delivered to the customer. So we are also trying to upscale ourselves. Every day is not like something where we are stagnant. We are updating ourselves every day. So something which I would always want to say proudly, that we are a garage who is constantly improving and also working on bigger problems, trying to resolve them. Since we have a limited access to spare parts and limited access to things which are not available in the country, this is where our timeline or the work cycle, has a delay, which is we are trying to always address. But then this is a problem which every garage in India faces when it comes to being a multi-brand service center.
And that's a wrap for part one. There's plenty more to come in part two. So stick around and watch. It's going to get a lot more interesting. Make sure to like and subscribe to not miss it. And we'll see you in part two.